Hello and welcome to English Learning Hub. English Listening Test. Designed for B1 learners. This test consists of 20 questions which are divided into 4 parts. I will give you a short instruction at the beginning of each part. Before we get started, take a pen and paper so you can take notes while listening. Are you ready? Let's get started. Part 1. Listen to a language teacher and take notes.
Welcome to Tips for Today. In the studio today, we have Mr. James Wilson, who has been a language teacher for 20 years. He's going to give us some advice on learning a language successfully. So, Mr. Wilson, if I'm a complete beginner, where do I start?
Well, you probably need to take a class, for example, 1 evening a week. That will help you to start learning immediately, and you'll also meet other people who are motivated to learn.
That's good advice, because it can be really difficult to stay motivated on your own.
That's right.
Now, what advice would you give to our listeners who can speak a little, but need to improve?
To improve your speaking, you really need to practice. Is it possible for you to find someone to practice with? If not, try reading out loud. That can really help your pronunciation too. You must not be shy or nervous, just do it.
Okay, and what about listening? I think this is the most difficult thing to improve.
If you're learning a language abroad, it's definitely easier because you hear people talking all the time. In your own country, make sure you download podcasts or songs, or news onto your phone. You can listen to these when you're going to work or school.
Nice idea. And finally today, what about reading?
Well, you don't have to spend a lot of money on foreign newspapers or books. There's a huge variety of things to read on the internet, such as news websites and blogs. On Facebook and Twitter, you can practice not only your reading, but also your writing skills.
That's a good tip. Thank you, Mr. Wilson. That's all we have time for on tips for today, but...
Choose the correct option. Part 2. Listen to 5 people talking about what makes them happy. Match the speakers with the topics. There are 2 answers you don't need. One.
Well, I have a very stressful job. So, as soon as I get home in the evening, I put on my favorite music. That's a great way to relax. I like listening to classical music best, Mozart or Chopin. When I relax, I'm happy.
2.
I think it's important to work hard. I've always worked incredibly hard, and I think that's why I'm successful at my job. Being successful makes me happy. I don't mind spending time with my family, but I prefer being at work.
3.
What makes me happy? Oh, I've always really wanted to have a big family. So, spending time playing with my children is what I like best. It's magical. I'd like to get a job in the future. But for now, I like being with the children.
4.
I'm not very good at cooking and we never have a lot of food in the fridge. So when I cook something absolutely delicious from nothing, that makes me happy.
5.
Happiness for me is singing. Being able to sing the high notes is very difficult. You have to practice a lot and breathe correctly. I sing in a band and I just love it.
Choose the correct option. Part 3. Listen to a radio program about saving energy. Complete the sentences with 1 or 2 words. You may have to change the form of the words you hear.
Last year, I started to worry that I was spending too much on energy bills and not being careful enough about how I was using gas and electricity. So this year, I've made a few changes, which I would like to tell you about. Most of the changes I've made were easy, so I'm hoping that you'll feel encouraged to do the same. For example, like many people, I used to switch off the TV using the remote control, but this only turns off the screen, not the TV. When you leave a machine in standby mode like this, it's still wasting energy. Research shows that if we all unplugged devices when we weren't using them, we would save 10% of our total energy consumption over a year. Another thing I used to do was wash my clothes on warm, but now I wash them on cold, which is enough to get most things clean. I've also turned down my central heating a little. If my children complain, I just tell them to put more clothes on. Many of us use energy-saving light bulbs now, but not many people know that if you fit a special plug to your fridge, it regulates the amount of energy it uses and can save up to 20% in energy costs. Also, we all use too much water every time we make a cup of coffee. I now try to use a cup to measure the exact amount of water I need, saving time as well as money. One final tip. I listen to a lot of music through my headphones, but now I have a solar-powered media player, which means that when I'm away from home, I don't need any plugs or adapters. Overall, I'm delighted that not only am I saving money, but I'm also wasting fewer of the Earth's precious resources. My only regret? I could have saved at least $50 last year if I'd known this sooner.
Choose the correct option. Part 4. Listen to 5 conversations and take notes.
What's wrong?
I have to give a presentation in 10 minutes, and I can't plug my laptop in.
What's the problem?
I forgot that the outlets were different in Europe and I didn't bring an adapter from the US.
Here, why don't you use my cable? It has a European plug on it.
Thank you so much.
How did the presentation go?
It went well, thanks. Here's your cable. I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't met you.
Glad I could help. Technology isn't as international as we would like it to be, is it? The first time I used an English keyboard, I kept pressing the wrong keys. It was very embarrassing. I had to use my own laptop with a Spanish keyboard for a while because I was making so many mistakes.
Good morning. How can I help you?
Hello. I bought a computer recently from this store, and I'm having a few problems with it. I didn't realize there were only 2 USB ports. I need to keep one just for the mouse, so that only leaves one for everything else. If I want to plug in a memory stick and connect to the printer, I have to unplug something else. What would you suggest I do?
Well, the simplest thing would be to buy a USB hub which, for just a few dollars, allows you to plug in up to 7 devices at once.
How was your vacation in Australia, Kate?
It was wonderful, but I must tell you about the most amazing coincidence.
Really? What happened?
I was walking in the Blue Mountains and decided to write a postcard to a friend I hadn't seen for a long time, named Jenny. So, I walked into Katoomba, a small local town, to buy a stamp, and I had just come out of the post office when I saw Jenny walking down the street. I couldn't believe it.
That's extraordinary. So did you give her the postcard?
Yes. If I'd met her 5 minutes earlier, I could have saved a stamp.
Robert, have you ever been helped by a complete stranger?
Yes, when I was a student. I was traveling around Mexico one summer and arrived in a village pretty late. I couldn't find anywhere to stay, and I didn't speak the language, which didn't help.
So what happened?
Well, luckily, I met an old couple and tried to explain that I was looking for a hotel. They were very patient and, when they understood, they just pointed to their house, which was nearby. If I hadn't met them, I might have had to sleep in the park.
How kind of them.
Choose the correct option. Well done for making it all the way through. Don't forget to share your score in the comments section. If you're new here, be sure to subscribe because more valuable content is on the way. See you in the next videos.